Hey guys, I wanted to do a quick video that I think is an important conversation to have. It's a tough pill to swallow for some, and it's something that I think people in our space are not very honest about. Um, and that is the fact that an oil change is a commodity dressed up in an experience. And what does that mean? Well, what it means is there's no secret way to take out a drain plug better than someone else. There's no special way to screw a spin on filter better than someone else. And so when something becomes commoditized, whether it's because technology has made it easier for everyone to do at such a low cost, um, it just to kind of lay the definition of what a commodity is. When we think of commodities, we think of something like coffee or oil itself, something that at scale there's not that much of a difference of. And so when we say that the oil change as a service has become commoditized, that means that there are many different ways to do an oil change across the country where the delta between how people do it does not change very much. And what we mean when we say that an oil change is a commodity dressed up in an experience is that we pontificate about how much different our experience is at our store, the appearance of the store, the service that you get. And I think there's a level of delusion in our space that they somehow have created a way to differentiate between each other by saying our customer service is better. And then they do it in a way that I think is dishonest because they're repeating the same exact problems that got this industry into the crosshairs of the media in the first place. And whether it's dishonest upselling, high pressure upselling, having staff that feels like it's walking on eggshells if it doesn't sell enough air filters. And, the reason I'm doing this video, not only for our franchisees, but for our employees as well, we don't want, we want exceptional people. We want kind people, of course, but when you're competing in a space that is commoditized, and the reason the screen I have up right now is near where I live in the DC area, and I typed in oil change near me, which is the most common searched phrase for oil change. And the top two results are not quick lubes. And that's because a lot of places, a lot of people do oil changes. If we scroll down, we'll see Jiffy Lube, we'll see Valvoline, but then we'll even get to Pep Boys. And then we go a little further, we have Midas. We go a little further, we have a mobile oil change. And all this means to say is we shouldn't kid ourselves when we're talking about doing $100 oil changes and saying the value that we provide is so much worth the extra however many dollars. And we get criticized for doing less expensive oil changes. Of course, not by the consumer. The consumer loves it. But we get criticized by players in our space, especially quick lube operators. We get criticized by auto repair shops who do oil changes as a loss leader because they're not able to do oil changes at our price and actually make money, whereas we can because of scale. And honestly, at the end of the day, what we want to do is win on as many fronts as we can, and we're not going to pretend to be something we're not. And while we don't put commissions in place to ensure that we're not incentivizing bad behavior, but we're also not going to pretend that we're Ruth's Chris and serving things with white gloves. At the end of the day, it's an oil change, and there's there's not a lot of ways to differentiate the service, and that's why we put a huge emphasis on authenticity. And when we hire, we try to hire people that we think are authentically themselves and carry themselves in a way that we think our customers will appreciate, in addition to the pricing structure that we do. So I think the only way that our space survives is if we carve out the ability to make money while being a low cost option. And really, we have lightning in a bottle right now. And when I say we, I mean us, Costa Oil, not the industry as a whole, because we're moving towards $150 oil changes. And, if you start typing in oil change, you know, you're going to see the Google finished. I don't know if I'll be able to replicate it, but one of the search results was, is a $50 oil change expensive? Something along those lines. And I can't replicate the search, but I saw it, and I'm going off the cuff here. But those who will survive as this space loses market share due to electric vehicles are going to be the ones who are good on price, and good on service, and without being inauthentic. And that's why speed matters. I did have up earlier on an earlier video the operator survey from 2021. LOI we put out to purchase a new store. You can take a peek at that if you'd like. But the higher car count stores had lower ticket averages. The higher car count stores had 6-minute quicker bay times, and they had high tenure. My first employee still works for me in Harrisburg. My very first employee from 2014 still works for me. The manager of both employees from our third store in Mount Prospect, Illinois, both still work for me. The manager of our fourth location in 2017 still works for me. And this thing that we've created would not exist if we did not create a culture that encouraged that kind of tenure in this space, because otherwise everyone else is turn and burn, and they're saying out of one side of their mouth, we have this culture of being able to do oil changes with so much emphasis on customer service, and then on the other side of their mouth they're firing people because they didn't sell enough air filters. And that's not going to work for much longer. You're not going to be able to sell a $150 oil change when this is a commoditized service. Like, it also gets to that, and just to be very frank, it gets to the point where if the price is cheap enough in this inflationary environment, especially as we head into this recession that clearly is here, we are going to have a lot of people who are not going to care about the customer service side of things. They're going to decide on price alone. And that's not a great place to be, because then it becomes a race to the bottom. And that's not a direction I think we'd want to go. But that being said, as we drive prices up, as the former CEO of Valvoline had mentioned on a presentation to Goldman Sachs, once they increase the price, they've never once gone backwards. So $100 full synthetic oil changes are here to stay. $10 an extra quart over 5 quarts is here to stay. So where will this space be if this consolidation continues? Maybe Valvoline and Take 5 are the only two left standing, but as long as there are independents out there and smaller chains that are not giving in to that consolidation, I think there's going to be a place for a price-friendly option, and those locations will continue to do well. That was really it. Just a little rant I wanted to go on.